As the initial buzz surrounding Mickey Rourke's entrance into Celebrity Big Brother escalated, what began as lighthearted commentary soon evolved into a deeper, more layered public conversation. Viewers couldn't look away, not just out of amusement or curiosity, but out of genuine bewilderment. Rourke, who had once captivated audiences with his gritty performances in films like The Wrestler and 9-1-2 Weeks, now appeared as a surreal, almost ghostly version of his former self. The once ruggedly handsome actor had always embraced an edgy, unpredictable persona, but this new chapter felt different. His face, tightened to an almost mask-like rigidity, drew speculation not only about cosmetic surgery, but also about identity. Was this a man struggling to maintain relevance in a youth-obsessed industry, or someone slowly slipping into a kind of self-fashioned alternate character? The comparisons to Johnny Depp weren't just limited to looks, they extended to aura. Rourke's manner of speech, his physicality, even the way he paused dramatically before responding to the most mundane of questions, gave viewers an uncanny sense of déjà vu. Some fans theorize that Rourke might have been influenced by Depp's signature quirkiness and gothic demeanor, especially given their long-standing careers as Hollywood outsiders who marched to their own beat. Depp, known for his eccentric, almost poetic oddity, had carved out a niche persona. Now it appeared Rourke was unintentionally, or perhaps quite intentionally, mirroring that same brand of mystique, right down to the rings on his fingers, and the way he clutched his cigarette with theatrical flair. Behind the scenes, producers were reportedly caught off guard by just how intense the public reaction was. According to leaks from the production team, there had been last-minute wardrobe changes and discussions about whether Rourke's introduction should be edited for tone, given how disoriented and cryptic he came across during his first interactions. While some insiders chalked it up to nerves or the pressure of entering a new environment under the public's harsh gaze, others hinted that this could be part of a larger performance, perhaps even a calculated reinvention. After all, Rourke has always walked the line between reality and performance art. He's a man who once left Hollywood behind to become a professional boxer, who later returned with a battered face and a fierce desire to reclaim his artistic identity. Social media discourse was torn between fascination and concern. Some fans defended him, arguing that aging actors, especially men who had once been sex symbols, are often unfairly scrutinized for their physical transformations. Others weren't so charitable. They posted side-by-side images of Rourke and Depp poking fun at their overlapping aesthetics while implying that Rourke was spiraling into caricature. "It's like he ordered Johnny Depp on Wish," one Reddit user joked. But beneath the sarcasm was a deeper reflection on fame, aging, and the brutal cycle of celebrity reinvention. Even inside the house, Rourke's interactions remained difficult to decipher. He'd swing between intense moments of philosophical musings, often delivered to no one in particular, to long silences where he seemed lost in thought. Fellow housemates were clearly unsure of how to engage with him, often tiptoeing around his erratic energy. In one particularly awkward exchange, a cast member tried to bond with Rourke by asking about his film career, only to be met with a cryptic smile and a whisper. The script's still being written. The moment left viewers unsure if they were witnessing genius or a slow unraveling. As the days progressed, Rourke continued to blur the boundaries between actor, character, and human being. He was equal parts enigmatic, disconcerting, and oddly mesmerizing. Whether intentional or not, his debut on Celebrity Big Brother had become a social experiment, a case study in how celebrity identity morphs over time, how the public perceives transformation, and what happens when the man in the mirror begins to resemble someone else entirely. As commentary around Mickey Rourke's transformation deepened, fans and critics alike began to examine not just the surface similarities between him and Johnny Depp, but the emotional and psychological threads that seemed to tether the two actors together in the public imagination. Rourke, once the symbol of Hollywood's raw masculinity and unpredictable brilliance, had lived through decades of reinvention. His retreat into the boxing world in the 1990s wasn't just a career pivot. It was, in many ways, a cry for autonomy, in an industry that often demands conformity. The physical consequences of that detour left indelible marks. Not only the visible scars on his face, but also the emotional residue of a man who had been broken and rebuilt, both literally and metaphorically. Each reconstructive surgery etched into his identity a new layer of complexity, making it harder for audiences to separate the performer from the person. When Rourke returned to acting, he did so with a kind of raw, wounded gravitas that made his performances feel deeply personal, as though he wasn't just acting, but excavating parts of himself. Johnny Depp, on the other hand, maintained his cinematic presence through roles that embraced the surreal and the unconventional. While his physical transformation wasn't as drastic or medically driven as Rourke's, Depp too constructed a persona that was difficult to pin down. Over time, he shed the image of the clean-cut heartthrob and leaned fully into an aesthetic that defied expectations, part rock star, part pirate, part bohemian sage. His wardrobe choices became an extension of his psyche, an armor against the corporate machinery of Hollywood. This sense of performative identity was also echoed in Rourke's recent appearance. The choice to adopt a similar visual language, sunglasses, shielding the eyes, scarves wrapping the neck like protective veils, ornate rings that seemed almost ritualistic, spoke volumes about a desire to control one's image, to redefine oneself before the world could. Observers pointed out that Rourke's emergence in such an outfit wasn't merely homage or coincidence, but possibly an unconscious alignment with another actor who, like him, had become a symbol of creative defiance and personal turmoil. Even the way Rourke carried himself inside the celebrity Big Brother house suggested a man embodying more than just himself. His stillness was theatrical, his aloofness deliberate. He didn't seem to be participating in the social circus that the show demanded, but rather performing some private play, a brooding outsider forced into a spotlight he had no interest in courting. It was this performative detachment that made the Depp comparison so compelling. Depp had spent years honing a kind of haunted charm, a deliberate vagueness that gave people just enough to speculate, never enough to confirm. Rourke, it seemed, was walking that same tightrope, blending authenticity with ambiguity in a way that felt both compelling and disconcerting. The emotional resonance of this parallel wasn't lost on longtime fans. Both men have become emblems of survival, not just within a ruthless industry, but within the even harsher terrain of public opinion. Their lives have been marked by tumult, their legacies shaped not only by artistic brilliance, but by the wounds they carried off-screen. The resemblance wasn't simply physical, it was spiritual, existential. Each man seemed to wear his pain like an accessory, woven into every line on their face, every choice in wardrobe, every cryptic soundbite. In a world where celebrity is often synonymous with polish and precision, Rourke and Depp remained unpredictable. Forces, untamed, unfiltered, and undeniably human. Whether or not Rourke intentionally mirrored Depp during his celebrity Big Brother appearance may never be confirmed, but the impression it left was unmistakable. It sparked not just commentary, but introspection about fame, identity, and the toll of trying to remain whole while the world watches you fall apart. The spectacle surrounding Mickey Rourke's appearance on Celebrity Big Brother continued to grow in complexity as the days unfolded, pushing beyond surface-level mockery and inching toward a broader cultural introspection. It wasn't just about whether he looked like Johnny Depp, it was about what that resemblance meant in a society obsessed with image, legacy, and the performative act of survival in the public eye. Social media became a battleground for competing interpretations. Was Rourke orchestrating a calculated reinvention, fully aware of the stir it would cause? Or had he become, perhaps unknowingly, a reflection of the very industry that once consumed him, now echoing its most recognizable tropes, in a desperate attempt to remain visible? The irony was sharp. A man once celebrated for his emotional authenticity was now being dissected for the authenticity of his appearance. Public reaction revealed an uncomfortable truth about fame, that once an actor becomes a household name, their physical body is no longer just their own, but a kind of public domain. Rourke's face was treated not as a living, aging, healing part of a human being, but as an object of fascination, ridicule, and endless analysis. Fans pored over photos, compared past red carpet moments, and debated the origin of every scar, wrinkle, and alteration. In this obsessive examination, Rourke ceased to be just a man and became a symbol of resilience, of reinvention, of the heavy toll exacted by fame and time. His silence in the house only amplified this, turning him into a screen onto which the audience projected their own interpretations. In this way, he became both a participant and a performance, embodying the contradictions of a celebrity culture that demands vulnerability while punishing imperfection. Even those who initially joined in the mockery began to express a sense of discomfort as more of Rourke's history resurfaced. Clips of his past interviews, where he spoke candidly about addiction, grief, loss, and his complicated relationship with fame, resurfaced online, reframing the narrative. Suddenly, the man behind the sunglasses wasn't just a figure of parody, but of pathos. People began to question their own complicity in the viral storm. What did it say about society that so much attention was lavished on how closely Rourke resembled Depp, rather than on what he might be feeling, enduring, or trying to say in his own unconventional way? Rourke's on-screen behavior continued to blur the boundaries between reality and performance. His cryptic monologues, unpredictable mood shifts, and theatrical mannerisms may have seemed odd in the context of a reality show, but they began to take on a new dimension. This wasn't just an actor behaving eccentrically, it was a commentary, intentional or not, on the absurdity of modern celebrity. His every move seemed designed, or perhaps doomed, to challenge the audience's expectations. Was he mocking the format, resisting it, or unconsciously redefining it? In one scene, he reportedly stood by the window for hours, silently staring out at the garden, a solitary figure lost in thought, while others laughed and argued around him. That image alone was screenshotted and shared thousands of times. An accidental masterpiece of mood and symbolism that encapsulated his entire presence on the show. This ongoing fascination was telling. Rourke didn't have to say much to generate headlines. His mere presence, styled and scarred, was enough to sustain a cultural moment. And therein lay the heart of the matter. Rourke had become a living commentary on the price of being watched. His body, his voice, his silences, all had become part of a larger narrative about how celebrities, especially those with long and tumultuous histories, navigate the shifting expectations of an audience that is both enthralled and insatiable. The comparison to Johnny Depp, while initially superficial, eventually became symbolic of a shared legacy, a legacy built on rebellion, mystery, and the slow erosion of self under the constant gaze of fame. In the end, Mickey Rourke's stint on Celebrity Big Brother wasn't just about spectacle. It became something more poignant and profound, a meditation on how we watch, judge, and define the people we place on pedestals. The memes will fade, the headlines will move on, but for a brief and telling moment, Rourke held up a mirror, not just to Depp or to himself, but to a culture that struggles to separate performance from person, appearance from essence. His face told a story, not just of surgeries or stylistic choices, but of survival in a world that rarely grants second chances without demanding a piece of your soul in return.